Alabama football has been on the practice field, and A-Day is quickly approaching. This weekend at Bryant-Denny Stadium is year 2 of the Kalen DeBoer era in Tuscaloosa is just around the corner. Helping us break down all things Alabama football, what's been going down in T-Town. Friend of the show, good friend of mine, Alex Scarborough, a senior writer at Bama 24/7. He joins the show once again. Alex, what's going on, my man? Appreciate you taking the time. Excited to chat Alabama football with you and excited to get down to Tuscaloosa this weekend and take it all in person for A-Day.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It's unfortunate we're not getting the typical spring game like we have in years past, but you know what? That's the trend in college football. It's the trend in the SEC, and Alabama, with their injuries, certainly has a reason to switch things up a little bit. But it still should be fun, and weather should be great.
Yeah, Alex, I want to get into that with you really quickly and obviously talk about A-Day and what that's going to look like. But I'm curious to get your thoughts. Again, last year, you and I spoke a few times here on the airwaves, and we discussed year 1 of the Kalen DeBoer era, how much different things looked, right? I mean, last year, this time, it was about, man, they're playing music at practice and some of that other stuff.
Yeah.
Year 2, there's a year under the belt now. There's a season under the belt, a season in which you fell short of expectations. It ended with a bitter taste in your mouth, losing in the bowl game to Michigan. What has the intensity and what has the overall vibe of year 2 of spring ball been like for Kalen DeBoer? Because again, year 1, it's all new. Everybody's fresh. You're trying to instill everything, your culture, the way of doing things. How has this spring ball compared for Kalen DeBoer in Alabama compared to last year in your mind?
Yeah, I got to sit down with Kalen right before spring practice started, and he just told me, like, look, a year ago I was still trying to figure out everybody's name. Like, that's where I was at. And it's not just this coaching staff trying to figure out the roster, it's vice versa. It's this roster that had known one way, one very specific way under Nick Saban for a very long time, suddenly having to adjust to a new thing. So that's done. And as Josh Cuevas told me, their tight end, they expect some big things out of, like, look, there's no more excuses now. This time, right now, is if you don't understand the playbook, that's on you, buddy. That's nobody else. So there's an expectation that the learning curve's over. Let's get this thing pointed in the right direction. Let's have some more accountability. Let's have some more urgency. And you can feel that. You can definitely feel that in the way leadership is spoken, and not just those players who are leaders that you would expect, but the number of players now who are taking that on themselves. Last year was a very small group of leaders, and it's kind of expanded out. And I think that's what Kalen DeBoer wants to see, because I think you could trace some of the problems that happened a year ago to not just talent, but just focus and all of those things. And the more people you have lifting other people up, it should improve the product overall.
Alex, obviously a big talking point of spring ball has been the quarterback position. Austin Mack, Ty Simpson, the freshman Keelan Russell, all battling. I want to go to your latest tweet is an article that you wrote, your column about the quarterback battle and talking about Ty Simpson and, quote, firm control of the QB1 battle. You sarcastically say that you're shocked. Talk about what that battle's been like and how in control of that battle is Ty Simpson, because there's been, of course, we love to see the highlights coming out of spring practice of the freshmen, the new guys. How in control is Ty Simpson of that battle in your mind?
I got a little crotchety last week, and it's because this is not Greg McElroy's fault. I like Greg McElroy. He was doing his job, but he went on his podcast and basically said, look, this is what I'm hearing is that Ty's in control, in firm control of the starting job so far. Everybody seemed to forget what so far meant, and that firm control doesn't mean he won the job. Everybody just took it and ran. And I get it. It's April. Everybody wants definitive things. The Ty Simpson camp wants to know he's the starter. He's got this thing. The Keelan Russell camp is like, wait, this guy's the highest rated recruit in 247 sports history to ever sign with Alabama. What's going on? And I'm sitting over here going, guys, we're 10 practices in. We're 9 practices in. We're 1 scrimmage in. And we're talking about Keelan Russell, who should be in high school right now. He enrolled early. He's been on campus for like 15 minutes. And you want him to unseat a guy in Ty Simpson who's been Jalen Milroe's backup, so the number 2 quarterback for 2 years, who is a redshirt junior. Of course, Ty is in control of the starting job. It'd be weird if he wasn't right now. That's not to say that Ty isn't good. Ty's a really good player. He's got moxie, he can throw the ball, he's athletic. He had a really good spring a year ago, to the point that I talked to some people who said, man, he's looking a little bit better than Jalen. Now, Jalen had intangibles that and experience and leadership that all outweighed it, but he's done nothing to stay off that course. I just think it's too early to say he's won the job, because Keelan Russell can ball, man. He's got every trait you want. The only thing you want to see is more weight on him and some experience, because can throw the ball deep, can throw the ball intermediate, can run like nobody, but he's a pocket passer. And then Austin Mack, look, there's a reason he followed this staff from Washington. There's a reason he skipped a year of high school, an entire year of high school, not just one semester, an entire year to play for these guys. And the Ryan Grubb of it all, coming back to the staff, one of the big reasons why Austin Mack wanted to join the program in the first place, is now back. This is a three-man race. Maybe Ty is the front runner. Maybe Keelan and Austin are right there. But I don't see a ton of separation at this point, and I think we're going to see it continue on through A-Day on Saturday and through the summer and on into the fall.
And that was my next question as well, Alex. Do you think this quarterback battle is going to go into fall camp? So like you mentioned, it is a three-man race. Have you seen anything in particular from each of these individual guys, just as far as skill set? I know it's really hard to tell, obviously, but in regards to skill set, I mean, you mentioned it's the Keelan Russell highlight tape that I think continues to make the rounds on social media, and he's the new flashy toy, if you will. But it sounds like, based off what you're saying, like if a Keelan Russell were to win the job, or whoever wins the job, it's not because of a lack of what the other two are doing. It's more of just one guy really set. Like it's whoever wins that job is going to be well-deserved, season ready to go, and be Alabama's starting quarterback.
Well, and even when they win the job, it may not be permanent win the job. I could very easily envision a scenario where this coaching staff says there's not a lot of separation here. Let's go with Ty because he's played the most. He's our most experienced guy. We trust him in situations, and let's see how it goes. And then you just got Keelan nipping at his heels and Austin nipping at his heels all season long. I think that's generally where I would say right now where I think this thing is headed. But they're all good options. And that's the thing. You come out of a guy 2 years starting at quarterback in Jalen Milroe, and you wonder, oh my God, what are we going to have? It's hard to hold on to depth at the quarterback position. And they did. They did a really good job a year ago of keeping Ty Simpson in the building when Ty could have left and competed for a starting job elsewhere. So they have that luxury. Now, do you feel good necessarily if you want to throw a true freshman out there in the SEC? Do you really want to send Keelan Russell out to Tallahassee to start a game, knowing everything that's going to go into that opener and how all those fans are going to want that program to be back like that? That's a little bit tough. So that's why I think there are some intangibles that are going to go into this decision as far as who starts day one, week one. But that's also why I could see this thing being evolving on into the season. Now, there's a chance somebody just takes the reins in fall camp. And as Kalen told me, if they know who it is, they're not going to hesitate, and they're just going to name the guy and roll with it. But my guess as of right now is that the lack of separation will continue on probably into the season until they and see more evidence as opposed to just what you see in practice.
Alex, on the defensive side of the football, year two as well for defensive coordinator Kane Womack in that 4-2-5 scheme. As is the theme, I feel like, with this Bama team, Alex, there's a lot of experience back. There's a lot of talent in the two deep. You do lose Malachi Moore and Jihad Campbell, two big-time dudes. Tim Smith, another one. What have you seen from the defense? What are you hearing from Kane Womack and others? And because, again, I'm sure there's going to be a chip on the shoulder, not just for this entire team, but certainly the defense coming into this season after, what was very much an up and down year and not, dare I say, not quite up to the Bama standard last year at times, certainly.
Yeah, there were games where they played at a really high level and games where they struggled. You go back to the Oklahoma game and their inability to stop the run, and it just felt like we've seen this before. We saw it against Tennessee. We saw it against Vanderbilt. It's like, why didn't these things get fixed? There's optimism about the offense and how it changes without Jalen Milroe. There's expectation of the defense to be really good because you do return 8 starters. You get guys like Damani Jackson, LT Overton, Deontay Lawson. These guys could be pros, and you get them to come back. And not just that, you're adding in true freshmen who you expect to play and play significant reps. Justin Hill is a guy as an edge rusher who all spring long, you're like, man, how are you going to keep this dude off the field? Dijon Lee, 6'4" corner. They don't make them like that in the backyard. I mean, that dude can play. Where does he fit in? You got Chuck McDonald, another 5-star coming in. And you get these transfers, Nakai Hill Green from Colorado, Cam Calhoun from Utah at the defensive back position. There's depth now. A year ago, this secondary was almost entirely new. They were all new starters. The only returning starter was Malachi Moore, and he was playing a new position. Now you've got an abundance of returning players. Bray Hubbard is maybe you think of as a new starter filling in for Malachi Moore, but he played a lot last year. There's expectations here. The tough thing with right now is that so many of those guys are injured and not playing. Damani Jackson out, Tim Smith, Deontay Lawson, Keon Sabb, who played really well before the injury. There's a lot of guys out. Flip side of that is you get to get guys some reps who otherwise wouldn't be getting them. That's why Dijon Lee is maybe shining. That's why maybe you get excited about Zay Mincy, another guy who a year ago was a blue chip prospect, playing safety now. The linebacker thing, the pass rusher of it all is still the one. Where do they find that? They got to do better getting to the quarterback. But man, their numbers in terms of returning starters and depth that they can throw at you compared to a year ago, much better place, much higher expectations for what they can be year two.
Alex, top standouts that you've seen or maybe the staff has talked about offensively, defensively, transfers, freshmen. I'll throw one out there, low-hanging fruit. I've seen his name all over social media and those that cover Bama talking about him. Isaiah Horton seems like he's catching a lot of buzz, but anybody else that's caught your eye that you feel like just maybe top standouts that maybe a lot of folks aren't talking about or maybe a lot are talking about in the case of Isaiah Horton?
Yeah, Justin Hill is the guy who, again, because there's a position of need, because he was one of the top outside linebackers coming in, he's really shown some things. Dijon Lee, another guy. Latsier Brooks, a wide receiver, small guy, maybe 5'9", 5'10", out of New Jersey. I think he was a 3-star prospect. This staff was on him very early. Flew under the radar all year long, but man, you just keep hearing ways about how he goes and gets the football, his athleticism, his quickness, his short area burst. You have folks talking about, is this the next Jalen Waddle? I think people need to pump their brakes a little bit on that. But man, he's created a good bit of buzz. But no, it's the Isaiah Horton show. There's no doubt about that. It's not easy to go get a guy with his kind of production in the portal. 50-something catches at Miami a year ago, 6'4", 6'5". And what he means to this offense is so important because his length at wide receiver is needed. You get Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard back, two very productive receivers, but not guys who really go vertical and get the ball a lot. Ryan can do that, but he's 5'11", 6 foot. Same thing with Jeremy Bernard. Isaiah gives you that other piece, and he gives you the third receiver. Look, you can't be a great offense in today's game with two good receivers. You just can't. You need depth. You need production at a wide receiver 3 and wide receiver 4. Isaiah is promising in a way to solve that, which will in turn solve a lot of other issues in terms of what defenses are able to do. My question is, who steps into wide receiver 4? Is it a Latsier Brooks? Is it a Jalen Hale, a speedster coming back from injury, was knocked out for the season a year ago during fall camp, can really get vertical? Is it a Cole Adams, a guy who can play the slot, really shifty, really good in being in tune with the quarterback? There's Rico Scott. There's a lot of guys. They got to get the diversity in the passing game. Isaiah is a huge piece of that. But to get that Washington offense where you had 3 receivers go in the first 3 rounds and Jeremy Bernard is the 4th guy catching 30-something catches, you need to spread the field. They got to figure that out. But, man, Horton is a big boost for what they want to do offensively.
Alex, A-Day is this Saturday. Again, really excited to be in attendance and be back in Tuscaloosa, one of my favorite stops in the SEC. Really looking forward to it. You mentioned how much different it's going to look. Obviously, I mean, listen, the fact that Bama's still holding A-Day, I think is probably a victory for the fan base when so many are canceling spring games entirely or what have you. But it is going to look different. What have you heard, Kalen DeBoer? What has he said in regards to how much different A-Day is going to look this year compared to years past?
Yeah, it's just basically going to be a practice. It's not. Look, a year ago, it wasn't quite a game. It was more of a modified scrimmage than anything. So this is kind of taking it another step. And look, you look at the depth, the lack of depth they have. Just look at tight end. They lost Danny Lewis before the season started to an injury. Before spring practice started with an injury, you lost your two starters in Robbie Utes and C.J. Dupree. And then you've had Josh Cuevas, who you expect to start out with an injury. Marshall Pritchard, a true freshman, out with an injury. You have two scholarship tight ends right now. You have like three tackles who you feel pretty good about. That's it. There's just not the depth to field two teams. I'm curious how much of it is a traditional practice that a fly on the wall would go see, where there's a lot of one-on-one reps, versus is this just kind of a showcase? Because even though it is not televised, I think it's a hint in a certain direction why it's not televised, which is please don't look at what we have and try to steal it. As much as guys want to talk about, look, we can't field teams and all this, a lot of the hesitancy as it relates to spring, not doing spring games, is not wanting to be on television, not wanting to give away who is number 2 and 3 on your depth chart, and opposing teams going, man, I kind of like that guy. Let's go talk to him about how he's not a starter there and he can be a starter for us. So I doubt they tipped their hand, is what I'm getting at in terms of what practice looks like. It might just be a little bit of a free for all. But look, when you only get one full practice you get to watch as a public, you take it, and we'll get to see those quarterbacks spin the ball a little bit around a little bit more than we used to. And that might be the thing we take the most away from, because look, just the arm talent is going to be the biggest thing, and seeing how those reps kind of are split, if we can kind of parse that between Ty, Austin, and Keelan. That should be fun to watch, especially we've seen Austin, we've seen Ty. Really want to see what Keelan looks like in an Alabama uniform.
The only thing better than spring game overreactions, Alex, is spring practice overreactions. There will certainly be that regarding the quarterback position, and I'm sure many more after Saturday, but looking forward to it. Alex Scarborough, Bama 24/7, one of the best in the business when it comes to covering the Crimson Tide. Alex, appreciate you taking the time as always, my friend. Let folks know where they can check out all your work.
Yeah, go to Bama247.com. I think we got a 50% off special right now. Message boards hopping. We're going to have a busy day on Saturday because baseball's going on. We got a lot of stuff going on right now. Transfer portal with basketball. It's cooking right now. We're always doing something.
Alex, appreciate you taking the time, man. Let's definitely do it again soon.
My pleasure.